Today we have Mustafa Zafar, the Vice President of AI and Automation at IBM MEA, the Middle East and African region. We are in the AI week, and this is the Dubai Future podcast. Welcome, Mustafa.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you and to have this conversation about AI.
I'm really happy that you're with us. I'm happy that you're participating in the AI week. And I think you're going to have quite an influence because you're participating in the AI retreat, which is going to be for the policymakers in particular. And this will change here, Dubai, and the UAE in general, including the region as well. I mean, we know that the AI is moving fast in this region, and I'm trying to understand it probably more from you. But first, let's talk about what you're doing in the retreat and what you're doing in the AI week as a total.
Sure. During the retreat and the AI week, I believe we're trying to represent the IBM point of view on what does AI means for us? How do we get a best business value out of it? Our focus when it comes to AI is mainly around business value. We are more from an AI perspective, focusing on AI for business, because there are other AIs that exist definitely in the market and it is needed for individuals and individual productivity. In IBM, we're focusing more on the organization and the enterprise, how they can leverage AI in generating economical value. So the discussions that hopefully we're going to have and we're looking forward during the retreat is going to be around sharing the experiences, sharing the principles that we believe in IBM is the right principles when it comes to implementing AI. How do we become a responsible nation when it comes to the AI implementation? What type of partnerships should exist between the private and the public sector? So all of these, hopefully, that we're looking forward for that level of discussions and during the retreat.
Where do you think you'll be taking the direction you want leadership to take here?
I think there are a few principles that we will be focusing a lot with the leadership. Three basic principles. One of them should be around nobody should be immune, especially the makers and the creators of AI should not be immune, and they should be liable to what they're creating, right? That's a very important and critical principle.
Explain it a little more because I don't understand it.
So today, when somebody create a model or create a use case, right, there are two ways. Either I say I'm not taking any liability out of it, and it's the responsibility of the user to make sure that everything is correct. For us, that will not make AI advance with the speed that we want it to be taken. We want actually the opposite to happen, is that whoever creates a use case or an application, AI application, or a model should be liable to whatever outcome comes out of it. And they should assume that liability. They should assume that level of responsibility. Because if we're looking for a responsible AI, it comes from whoever creating that AI, whether it's a model or a use case or an application. They need to take responsibility of what we're creating.
What is it? Are you talking about the ethical side of AI, where if somebody uses AI to create something terrible, destructive?
Yeah, no, not necessarily. Like even on a simple example, if I'm building an AI model that should predict a financial position, for instance, what if the outcome is incorrect? Who's liable in this case? Is that the user or the creator? We believe the creator should be liable to
Lots of people bring in consultants, right? And consultants make mistakes as well. But are they held as liable? Do you think they're expected to make mistakes.
Yes.
So shouldn't AI make mistakes as well?
Yes, and that would be the second principle, if you want to add it, because we should not leave AI to be the only decision maker, right? AI for us should augment what the people are, and the decisions that all the executives or decision makers that need to take should augment that, should help them take the right decisions, but should not be ultimately the decision maker. So the augmentation point of view of AI is extremely crucial, and that's for us the second principle. And we have a third principle, which is equally important as well when we think about it, is okay, people still will do mistakes. AI models maybe will still do mistakes. So how do we govern not the models that we created, not the technology that we're implementing, but how do we govern the risk that might arise from it? Because different use cases would have different risk elements and different risk levels when it gets implemented. When I build a model to predict who would win a soccer game, it's completely different when I build a model to allow me to take a loan or not. Or sometimes when we talk into certain industries, judicial or healthcare, a decision might be taken on a patient, right or wrong, that's a different risk. So the different measures that needs to be taken has to be different, right? And therefore, we believe there has to be a focus more on how do we govern the risk that might arise based on its level from each use case.
Do you think AI will ever be able to stop hallucinating or making mistakes, let's say?
I don't think so, right? I always believe that AI, in a way, amplifies our flaws. If human being by nature, sometimes we do have bias, AI will always be biased. If our nature as human being to make errors and mistakes, AI will continue to do errors and mistakes. Why I'm saying that? Because our behavior gets represented into the transactions that we're doing with AI or the data that we're generating with AI. And that data and those type of transactions are the one that influence the behavior of AI. So unless we become angels, AI will never be error-free.
So this actually hits on the first point, who's liable.
Correct.
And it's very important because the belief that we have now, at least, that AI will always be making mistakes. Maybe we can reduce the number of mistakes, but the mistakes will always be there with us. And then we just have to make sure the entity that's liable always held liable for issues of that sort.
Correct. And to be able to govern the risks that might happen from our applications as well.
Okay, that's amazing. So, okay, we have two more points that you're going to talk about in the retreat, maybe?
Yeah, so, and then in the retreat, basically, we're going to start talking, outside the retreat, but in the AI week. The discussion is going to be for us, going to be around specific use cases, sharing experiences of where would AI make sense. We believe there are a few areas where AI is going to be big. AI, by definition right now, the main focus of it and the main value that we can get out of it is going to be around productivity, right? Productivity of us as individuals, productivity of us as processes and organizations, but how do we increase that level of productivity? We believe with a certain estimate that we can reach a $4 trillion of productivity per annum if we use AI in the right places, purely by focusing on all mundane tasks, all simple tasks that doesn't need our innovation, doesn't need our intellectual capacity to work on it. That's where AI should play a role for us, right?
So 4 trillion across all of AI
globally.
sectors.
That's a global view. We believe that we'll reach a $4 trillion economical value purely from productivity gains, right? So we want to share with the UAE, with our customers in Dubai, the type of use cases. How are we using it in IT operation, which is a low-hanging fruit, right? How to use AI in the way that we manage our own IT, our own technology. How to use AI in doing our own jobs, right? So digital labor in general. How would an HR department in an organization will do even better? How a procurement organization will do better, a legal organization, sales organization, marketing organization. So all of these type of roles, we want to share the expertise of how can we help? How can AI help in a responsible way? And we have really good examples that we can showcase. One of them is IBM itself, right? Where we're using our own AI within IBM to show economical value. And that we reach in the last couple of years more than $3.5 billion of savings and economical value from using our own AI from a productivity.
So this is probably the AI that is classical.
No, even generative, right? So we're using it in code generation. So we develop our own products using AI. So instead of all the developers focusing and spending time on spending weeks and months to develop a product, AI can help us reduce that time.
Yeah, well, tell me, what kind of products do you have currently with this wave of AI?
So we're focusing on a few things. We're focusing, number one, on having a platform that allow organization to innovate with AI. That platform that cater for the different models that they should be using, right? And because it's not a one model that will rule them all. Every organization will use multiple models for the different use cases they're implementing. So we're giving them the studio where they can build their use cases with the different models. Part of the platform will allow them, going back to the principles, govern the risks of these models and applications. So looking at a few things, for example, right? So looking at the life cycle of implementing an application. What type of data do we give it to the application to train it in the first place? Does it have bias? Doesn't have bias? Does it represent all point of views or not? Is the data reliable or not? Is the data quality good enough or not? We're even looking at, okay, so we looked at it at development. How about if we put it in production? Does it still perform the way it was designed to perform or not? What if a problem happens? And go back again to the level of risks. If a problem happens, what should happen, right? There has to be a certain, going back to a governance, a certain process that has to be in place to govern when errors happen, because error will happen. It's not like, as we said, it's not an error-free. So how would the organization should behave, all right? Who should approve, first of all, if we're talking about responsible AI, we should approve, first of all, that this application, this AI use case is okay to be used in the first place. So you're looking at risk management, you're looking at life cycle management of building the AI use case. You're looking at the compliance to not only the national regulations, and there's a lot of effort that's being done here in Dubai to come up with our own policies in Dubai, how and when to use AI. So we'll have to comply to it, like similar to the telecommunications, they have to comply to the telco regulations and so on. We have to do the same when it comes to AI, but there are internal regulations within the organizations that we need to comply to. So how do I manage that compliance as well? And we have a great example from the UAE where we have been doing that with EAN, for instance, where they're partnering with us and embracing our platform for governance to actually manage their whole AI use cases within that framework.
Wow, I didn't think that the principle that you mentioned earlier is actually being implemented directly now.
Absolutely.
And taken very seriously. In fact, if you look at the entire industry currently, it doesn't seem like they're taking the same sort of steps that you are taking. Now, I know that, for example, Amazon announced a while back that they're making sure that the data or the hallucinations are less, so that less mistakes would happen. But I haven't seen much about that since then. But you're taking very solid steps to create this.
True, because our legacy in IBM comes from really enterprise businesses. And how do we engage with different enterprises for them to deliver whatever services that they're delivering to their customers? So the experience that we have within IBM allows us to look at the problem more holistically from day one. Not just the bias, not just the drifting, not just is the data good or not, but really with our principles, we try to implement the platform that implement those principles, and we try to manage it. And then last but not least, out of the platform, then to your question, is how are we managing the data, right? which is a big discussion. Even personally, I had that discussion with many big organizations in the UAE about data collaboration. In a lot of cases, you will not, and one organization will not have all the data they need to develop all the AI use cases they need to do. They need to collaborate with other organizations when it comes to their data. How it can be done in a secure way? How do we collaborate on the insights more than collaborating on sharing the data itself? Because not in every case we can share the data because of sensitivity, because of a lot of other reasons.
You know, this brings me to, I'm thinking about what Google did, agent to agent. So agent will be speaking to agents. Maybe through the collaboration of agents, they are responsible for hiding data and making sure that the communication between the two agents would be not on this very deep level of understanding of the data, but more superficial, where they can exchange information and not have any issues.
That's one way of looking at it, this is why we start to talk more about agentic AI. And that's one of the second part of the platform of IBM, where we're talking about agentic AI in the way, how do we spin off those type of agents that can start talking to each other? But with the same concept, if you want to look at it holistically, there are things that we have to consider once we start letting the agents talk to each other. For example, things that we used to take it for granted when people talk to each other, just, do I know you? Do I trust you to talk to you? And then when we implemented in technology, we start to implement identity of people, and it became a thing in the last 10, 15 years.
That's amazing.
But in agents, how would I make sure that these two agents, their identity is not compromised?
So now we have to create identities for
absolutely, right?
And they have to vet them and check their security.
Absolutely. And this is why in IBM we start talking about what we call an identity fabric, right? How do we build an identity fabric? Because now it's not only people talking to machines or people talking to people, it's machines talking to machines. So I need to make sure that their identity is not compromised, right? So that's one way. But there are other use cases that I even need a training time to collaborate with other data. So even at training time, can I federate my training to where the data sources are?
Many. So
exactly.
From different entities.
Exactly. So I don't have to move the data to one place and do the training from the new repository I created. Sometimes I want to do the opposite. In certain data sensitivity, I want to push the training to be federated where the data source exists, where the data lies. So that's another way of looking at it. But that's giving us a completely different paradigm and an environment of what does data collaboration mean, right?
That's amazing. So, okay, we talked about some of the things that IBM is doing. There's one part that we haven't talked about, which is the LLMs that are in Arabic. And I know that you're supporting some of these on your machines, Watson X. Oh, I want to mention something that's interesting. When Watson was Watson, the earlier Watson. Yes, so this was an expert system. There was a story on the news of a woman who had cancer, anemia, blood cancer. I don't know what the terminology is right now. But anyway, in Japan, Tokyo University looked at her and diagnosed her through the information they had, and they were able to find what type of cancer she had. However, it wasn't absolutely correct. So they gave her medication for 6 months, and then the cancer went away, but then it came back again. But then they went on the cloud and used IBM Watson and fed it information. So they fed it her personal history, family, medical history, and things like that. And IBM Watson looked at 20 million papers and solved her case and gave her the exact diagnosis. And they were able to solve her problem, give her the right medications, and she was cancer-free. But the research that IBM Watson did was about 10 minutes long on all these 20 million papers. So that's now gone. We're in a new era where you have Watson X and LLMs. But I need to know what's going on in the Arabic LLMs since we are in the Arabic region.
Great. I see a great effort from different countries and different governments to really come up with our own Arabic LLMs. And I believe that it's very much needed. One, because who else can produce Arabic if it's not the Arab world, right? So it started with the work that happened here in the UAE with Jace and likes. And then went to Saudi and they produced Alam. And then Qatar last year, they announced Fanar. And I believe there will be even more and more coming. And hopefully we're seeing new versions. Jace, there are new versions coming of it and even more advanced. Alam is the same thing. And I'm sure we're going to see the same from Qatar, from Fanar. And all these efforts is very much appreciated because we need to maintain our identity as Arabs. I think that's crucial. That's crucial in a world where it's becoming more Occidental and more Western. And we need to make sure that when we give a certain answers, it is really based on our Arabic heritage. It is really based on our identity. It is really based on our culture, and not just the right answer, but it's the right answer should be in the context of our culture, in the context of our background, not just an answer that maybe linguistically it's correct, but it does not reflect the actual culture. And this is what I'm seeing, the real effort that is happening in the UAE, that is happening in Saudi, that's happening in Qatar, even infusing Quran as part of the data to train those models. I think this is all, it's 100% needed, 100% appreciated, and I think that will be more and more. The only thing is how much of Arabic data and Arabic information we have digitized to feed. There will always be need for more. There will always be need for more.
Even with the historical books, it's not enough, right?
It's more and more is more important because even if we learn from history, as I always said, there is always the linguistic part, but there is the cultural part. And cultural part needs to present the present as well. So we need more and more data that is coming from our present to feed in those models, to start learning as well and putting things into the context of our culture. So yeah, more is needed.
Better, yeah. So I agree. So I agree about the context part. There's one issue I'm still facing, the Arabic, the linguistic part. I'm not satisfied with any LLM currently. I've tried Jace, I've tried Alam, I've tried all of them. Their Arabic is good, but it's not yet good enough. I'm hoping that within the next few years, with the ones that are coming up in the future, this will improve a little better. Maybe they need to kind of do something different with the language model itself so that it can better enhance the Arabic language so that it comes out the way humans would write it. Arab humans, that is, would write it.
I agree, because it's not only the data, it's not only the technology, there is even the methodology of how we train the models. And even at IBM last year, we came up with a new methodology. How do we train models in general? It was not specific for Arabic, but in general, what is the best way to train models? Because even that, there is IP behind it of the methodology of training. And something IBM that focused on to be able to always enhance the current models that we have. And I think something in Arabic, we will see it, because I've seen just in the last 12 months, the difference between version 1s and the current versions that we have. There is always an enhancement. There is always a new or more parameters being used, more tokens being used. As much as I think the organizations are capturing the data that they can in Arabic, they are increasing the training of their models, and they start using innovative methodology as well to train those models. So I agree with you, still not where we want it to be, but there will be enhancement. I believe every day there will be new. But going back again but what we have today is enough for certain use cases.
Is it really?
Yeah.
So what we have in English and in Arabic?
And in Arabic is enough for certain use cases, because we cannot take everything obsolete in AI. Everything has to be compared to the use case I want to use it for, right? And that becomes an important point.
Okay, so let's move to the next question related to the region and here, the United Arab Emirates, Dubai. What do you see the future of the region in terms of AI?
Extremely positive, extremely positive. And I'll tell you, especially in the UAE, especially what I'm seeing, not only the organization, how they're using AI. I think it goes back to, and it's in the DNA of the UAE. I've been here for the last 16 years probably, and I've seen how the leadership of the UAE really embraces any new technology. Not just embrace it, but make the environment suitable to use that technology for the best or for the better of the people who lives here in this society. So we were the first country to have a minister of AI. In fact, we were the first country to start talking last year about chief AI officers, right? That there needs to be in every government organization. So all of that puts the UAE at the forefront of that wave and that industry that is actually being shaped up right now. A lot of effort is being done around the policies. So the government is taking the right approach in setting the right policies, setting the right frameworks where people needs to collaborate and innovate. And at the same time, encouraging all the public sector or private sector to invest in startups, in incubation. We're here in DFF and Area 2071, which is an incubator for all the innovative ideas, applications, and it's all towards the one important objective, which is the prosperity of the human being and the citizens that lives in this country. So that from one angle, and I see it as part of the DNA of and the fabric of that region and this country in specific. And then we'll take on the other side, all the bold moves and investments that is happening in the technology, whether on the GPU farms that's being built here, whether on the innovation that we're trying to get out of the UAE, whether the work, for example, the work that we're doing with Mohammed bin Zayed University for AI as IBM in research to actually leverage all the data in AI and generative AI that we have to choose the right places where we should put our crops and grains, and what to do from an agriculture perspective, what type of areas, because of the weather, because of the nature of the soil, will be suitable for a certain grain to grow and so on. So investment is being there, research is being there, there is an appetite, and there is an acceptance of, even if there is risk, let's manage the risk. I see the UAE really embracing one of our principles, that it's not about just governing the technology, it's governing the risk of what we're doing. It's okay to take risk as long as we know what to do if things happen. And I think all of these elements is making UAE in a very good position to be really one of the top countries globally when it comes to AI.
Of course, the news is always about the UAE and AI, but I believe also Saudi Arabia is flourishing now. They're pushing very hard. Kuwait, a few days ago, they announced also an initiative for AI. It was an AI Majlis.
Yes.
Yeah. So Qatar, you just mentioned that they're working on their own LLMs. Maybe I don't think we'll have an LLM sort of like the ones that are being developed in the West. Maybe we'll post-train them, we'll improve on them and things like that. But still, there are quite a lot of applications that we can do here that I noticed that the region is doing, maybe even faster and more efficiently than other regions in the West, in Europe حتى. يعني if you compare this to many countries around the world, I think the region is really doing extremely well. And I do believe the UAE is leading this currently. I mean, they've been leading since 2017 when His Excellency Umar Al-Ulama was appointed as the Minister of AI. So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying when you say that the region is flourishing in this area. And I'm glad, I'm happy because I love AI and I like
Me too. Big fan.
Anyway, it was a pleasure talking to you. It was amazing to learn a lot about what IBM is doing. And I appreciate you being with us on the Dubai Future Podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.